Mrs. Levinson doesn't get back for another week, and I honestly don't know if I can handle it.
You're gonna have to assert some dominance over it all.
Dominance? I mean, I don't think I can do that.
You're submissive.
I am not submissive.
Really?
Oh my god, you're so right. Lesbian is way better than straight.
Well, so are you ready?
Are you okay?
You should knock first.
What's that?
This third scene represents one of the film's most emotionally deliberate and thematically revealing moments, positioning Mindy's nervous anticipation and Casey's calm assurance as complementary forces within a story that is far less about novelty than it is about recognition, safety, and the careful unfolding of trust. And while the dialogue initially gestures toward anxiety and uncertainty, the film quickly reframes these feelings not as obstacles to intimacy but as integral components of it, particularly for women whose desires have often been deferred, questioned, or rendered invisible by dominant cultural narratives. Mindy's nervousness is portrayed with remarkable tenderness, emphasizing breath, hesitation, and self-awareness rather than spectacle. And this choice situates her experience within a broader lineage of queer women who approach intimacy carrying not only personal vulnerability, but also the accumulated weight of social messaging that frames women's same-gender desire as risky, excessive, or illegible, and the film honors this weight by allowing Mindy's uncertainty to exist without ridicule or pressure. Casey, by contrast, embodies a form of grounded presence that does not rush or overpower, but instead offers steadiness, reassurance, and consent-driven pacing. And importantly, her experience is not framed as dominance or authority in a sensational sense, but as emotional literacy developed through prior self-knowledge, positioning her less as an instructor and more as a witness and guide who understands that intimacy is as much about listening as it is about confidence. Their exchange foregrounds communication as the central act of connection, with verbal reassurance and mutual checking-in functioning as the true drivers of intimacy. And this emphasis resonates deeply with lesbian and queer audiences, who often learn, out of necessity, to articulate boundaries and desires with precision in the absence of socially sanctioned scripts. The film's restraint in depicting the moment allows viewers to focus on interior transformation rather than outward action. And this restraint is a deliberate political choice in a media environment that too often equates queer visibility with explicitness, suggesting instead that what is radical is not what is shown, but whose feelings are taken seriously. Mindy's repeated acknowledgement of her nerves, coupled with her willingness to remain present, reflects a process of self-recognition that many queer women will find familiar, particularly those whose first experiences of same-gender intimacy were preceded by years of imagining, wondering, and quietly longing without external validation. Casey's role in this process is significant not because she provides certainty, but because she models patience, demonstrating that care can coexist with desire, and that slowing down is not a failure but a form of respect. The film carefully avoids framing this interaction as a performance or rite of passage, instead presenting as a shared moment of becoming, where both women are changed not through intensity alone but through mutual attention. This framing challenges cultural narratives that treat women's first experiences, especially queer ones, as spectacles or thresholds to be crossed, and instead affirms them as ongoing conversations with the self. The scene's language of trust and safety is particularly resonant in the context of lesbian relationships, which have historically been scrutinized or sensationalized. And by centering consent and reassurance, the film asserts that women's intimacy can be both deeply felt and ethically grounded without apology. For queer women, the dynamic between Mindy and Casey may echo experiences of mentorship that are not hierarchical but relational, where one person's greater familiarity with her desires does not eclipse the other's agency. And this dynamic reflects real-world queer communities in which knowledge is often shared through care rather than instruction. The film's attention to Mindy's breathing and emotional regulation underscores the bodily dimension of vulnerability, reminding viewers that self-discovery is not purely intellectual but somatic, shaped by how safe one feels in another's presence. And this attention aligns with feminist theories that emphasize the body as a site of knowledge rather than merely an object of representation. Casey's reassurance that nervousness is normal functions as a quiet counter-narrative to cultural expectations of confidence, particularly for women, who are often pressured to appear composed and agreeable even when uncertain. And by validating uncertainty, the film creates space for authenticity. This validation extends beyond queer audiences to women more broadly, many of whom have learned to suppress hesitation in favor of perceived competence. And the scene gently suggests that intimacy, unlike performance, benefits from honesty. The interaction also reflects the broader theme of emotional labor, as Casey's attentiveness illustrates how care work often manifests in intimate settings, particularly among women. Yet the film avoids framing this labor as one-sided or burdensome, instead portraying it as reciprocal and meaningful. Mindi's gratitude, expressed not as obligation but as genuine acknowledgement, reinforces this reciprocity, highlighting how recognition itself can be an act of care. The scene's emotional arc moves from anxiety to calm, but importantly, it does not erase the initial nervousness, instead integrating it into a fuller experience of connection, suggesting that vulnerability does not disappear when comfort emerges but remains part of the relational fabric. This integration is key to the film's queer ethos, which resists binary thinking and embraces complexity. Culturally, the film positions this scene as a quiet rebuttal to the persistent discomfort with women's love for one another, discomfort that often manifests as either denial or exaggeration, and by choosing neither, the film insists on nuance, allowing viewers to sit with the ordinariness and profundity of two women connecting. The absence of external judgment within the scene creates a temporary refuge, emphasizing how transformative it can be for women to encounter spaces where their feelings are neither minimized nor policed. And this refuge mirrors the chosen families and intimate networks that have long sustained queer communities. Symbolically, Mindi represents the many women who arrive at self-recognition later than cultural narratives suggest, carrying questions shaped by silence rather than exploration. While Casey represents the possibility of meeting those questions with patience rather than urgency, their interaction does not resolve identity or promise permanence, but it does mark a moment of visibility, where Mindi's feelings are named, honored, and held with care. And this moment of being seen is portrayed as life-altering not because it is dramatic, but because it is affirming. The film's insistence on framing this connection as meaningful, rather than transgressive, contributes to broader conversations about how lesbian relationships are represented, pushing against tropes that frame them as phases, spectacles, or moral dilemmas. Instead, the scene argues that what gives intimacy its weight is not its novelty but its honesty. For audiences seeking recognition rather than fantasy, the scene offers a mirror, reflecting the quiet courage required to trust another person with one's uncertainty. The film's overall structure, which places the scene alongside others depicting women at different stages of life, reinforces the idea that queer self-discovery is not linear or age-bound, and that each moment of recognition builds upon those that came before. Ultimately, this scene encapsulates the film's central commitment to portraying women's relationships with seriousness, dignity, and emotional depth, insisting that love between women, in all its tentative beginnings and careful unfoldings, deserves to be treated as a site of truth rather than taboo. And by doing so, the film contributes to an ongoing cultural shift toward acknowledging women's love for women as a fundamental, resilient, and deeply human experience that continues to unfold even in a world that has yet to fully make space for it.